Good afternoon, everybody. A real pleasure to be here presenting, and hopefully, I can give you some insights which will be useful for your businesses. I'm just going to start off by giving a little bit of an overview of the beef market, and I guess talking a little bit about the history and where we are today, but also more importantly, where we're going. Look, I don't think it's any secret that the history of the New Zealand export of beef has been very much focused towards commodity side. It's been a volume game. With a very heavy emphasis into North America and grinding meat, and that's something that has really started to change in the last 5 to 10 years. Some of the drivers of that, things that have been talked about already by Charlotte, and Anna's touched on it as well. But the modern customer is definitely changing dramatically, and that's within the existing markets we sell within, but also there's new markets and new opportunities that we see. From an industry perspective, there's a lot of change involved in that, and us lining ourselves up to be able to access these particular markets and particular requirements takes a lot of change and a lot of effort. From a processing perspective, Alliance, like all of the other processors in New Zealand, have done a lot of work in trying to set themselves up to deliver those requirements, and that's certainly going right back in the supply chain, back into livestock as well. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. I guess the positive of that is that it will deliver extra value and extra money, but linked to that, we really need to hit on some key things. Obviously, premium quality is one, but there's a whole lot of attributes that go with that, which I will talk about in a moment. For Alliance, just put my sales hat on for a moment. We've focused across both the ovine and bovine sectors, so we've very much focused on building our ranges, and we've come up with the handpick range, which covers our lamb, our premium beef, and our venison. We've come up with some breed-specific lamb offers. Celia, we've come up with Tamana, which is a lamb offer, which is very much attribute-based. We've started a Wagyu program, which is obviously a beef program and a breed program. There's been a lot of focus on the North American market, where one of the really important things to that market is being antibiotic-free, and we're moving into some very breed-specific programs, which are primarily customer-driven. Just to talk briefly about the beef programs that Alliance has, we've developed some programs in the last couple of years. I've been with the business for 2 years, and my role is called Beef Category Director. One of the aspirations for the role that I have was to really build up that focus on moving away from the commodity aspects of the beef program that Alliance has traditionally had, and I dare say our competitors have gone through the same journey. So we've moved into this area where we're really trying to offer our farmers and our suppliers something a little bit different, but it's really then zeroing in on those attributes that will deliver that value. So as you can see there, we've got a handpick program, a 55-day age program, an Angus program, and a Wagyu program. So they all have something a little bit different, but some of the key things that drive these programs I've listed in point form on the slide. So no antibiotics, farm assured, meat color, pH levels, weight ranges, and marbling scores. These are all things that are delivering value. So just quickly go over how I see the current market, and probably of more interest is where we're going. But where we are currently, I think we've been very fortunate with some of the developments over the last 5 years, especially with the growth of the Chinese market, and that has been a bit of a game changer, certainly for the beef sector. We've been able to move away from predominantly supplying America with grinding meat into supplying a range of cuts into the Chinese market at quite significant premiums to what was being achieved historically into the USA. So that has certainly driven and underpinned a stronger beef sector over the last few years. Obviously, there's been a bit of a roller coaster ride as we've had a lot of change and a lot of turmoil in international markets with all the events that have been happening. But where we're sitting at the moment is we're still seeing some very firm international commodity markets. USA continues to be a pretty important market for us, and we still send a lot of product there. But probably what's more interesting for us is how we're developing alternative programs in all of the key markets that we're in currently. Charlotte did touch on some of this in her slide, but one of the key drivers that we face right now is really understanding the modern consumer and what it is they really want. I think we're all aware that people are more discerning, and some of the key markets where they can really pay the premiums are the markets where I think this is even more pronounced. The modern consumer certainly wants to understand the supply chain, and they certainly want to have more information about what they're putting in their mouth. So the range of decisions that will impact their choices, I've listed animal welfare, food safety, workers' rights, and there's a whole raft of other ones around environment, etc. One thing that is very exciting about where we're at the moment is I think New Zealand sometimes doesn't quite realise what it has, and we can certainly move ahead of this discussion and position ourselves really well in the marketplace. We do a lot of things really well in New Zealand. One of the best examples of that is being a pasture-fed driven industry, and we often take that for granted, but it is something that is a real point of difference in the marketplace. What we've seen happen in the last 2 to 3 years and programs that we've really heavily focused on have been in markets like the USA, and we've really gone for programs that have delivered customers exactly what they want. We've been able to educate them on how we grow our animals and the conditions that they're raised in, and really sheet home the attributes that make New Zealand beef stand out. Just before lockdown last year, I visited the USA, and one thing that really did strike me when I walked around different supermarkets and was looking at retail shelf space was how much cabinet space was devoted to product that was really highlighting the attributes that I've listed here. Being pasture fed is actually something that the US consumer really does value, and the retailers are certainly cottoning on to that. So with that in mind, we've been able to develop some really impactful programs in the North American market. And I guess the traditional view of our exporting business has been that we sell our ribeyes and our strip loins and our eye fillets at nice premiums. There's a much bigger opportunity than that around some of the larger cuts that we produce, and the opportunity there is to develop that at a retail level rather than moving into the food service sector. So with some of these programs, we've been able to open up an entirely new range of consumers. At the moment, we see really exciting future to develop those markets and customers. That's pretty much what I've really wanted to focus on. So thanks very much for your attention. The key driver from an alliance perspective, and I know a lot of the other processes in the New Zealand business are really focusing in on the quality of animals, the opportunities that are presenting themselves in the marketplace, and our ability to deliver on that is based on our ability to build programs, whether it's breeds, whether it's antibiotic use, but it's really trying to highlight these attributes.